Attack the enemy! Victory is ours!
Good morning, everybody. So, a week ago today, on Wednesday, I published a video called The Most Ridiculous Battle I've Ever Fought in War Thunder. And it was a nice, fun, light-hearted, little goofy battle where a bunch of crazy things happened, and it was just fun and funny. This is basically the exact polar opposite of that. This is a battle from the 16th of January where I was driving my highest tier British lineup, and things started out looking really good, as you'll see, and then very quickly deteriorate into just an absolute disaster, as you'll also see. So we start out in the Chieftain Mark X, which and yeah, I mean, I guess you can get excited if you see a YouTuber in your game, but I mean, I don't know, whatever. So you can see we're just fighting Germany and Japan here. I'm watching over to the most likely place to see an enemy coming, as I'm creeping up on the C point to capture it. And before too long, there we go, bingo, enemy moving. Get stopped, get lined up, get a real good hit on him with my APFSDS rounds, set him on fire, take out some of his crew members, move into a position where I can see him again. Take a counter hit back from him, but thankfully he hit the steel brew armor on the turret, and I was able to get a kill shot into him and knock him out. You can see on the other side of the mountains to my left, there's a fight going on for the B point. And I seem to be relatively alone over here on the C point now. I've also fairly recently got the smoke dischargers for the Chieftain Mark X, so dumped those off as well while I got here into the capture point to try and cover myself. And like I said, I'm still driving the Chieftain lineup, so on this map, where it's not as easy to cross from one side of the map to the other with all the natural terrain obstacles in the way, don't expect me to come saving the battle or anything, usually, unfortunately. Managed to capture the C point, though, and decided to just hold in place here and reload some of the smoke. The only problem with the Chieftain smoke dischargers is that there are 12 of them. So, watching over at the B point, here comes enemy air. And there's a kill with one MiG rocket, and this is where the battle takes a decided turn for the worse, although it was a little more difficult to detect at first. So you'll see in a moment. He comes in, he gets an airstrike with one of his two rockets, turns around, climbs up, then turns around, comes back down, and sure enough, gets another kill with the second rocket, and then heads back to his base to land and rearm. Which is annoying, even if that was the only time it happened, because when Gaijin went and... Now, I had been hit by MiG rockets, or had my team get hit by MiG rockets, either Soviet or German with the MiG-15, maybe 4 or 5 battles previous to this battle on this night. And I don't remember if I said this was a battle from the 16th of January. And it was getting really frustrating. I remember when it was super frustrating just getting absolutely spammed out by HVARs from either Sabres or anything British that had RP3s. And then Gaijin's answer to that was, okay, we'll change it so that they need to be impact rockets instead of just hit with HE-type warheads anything close, because they were designed for taking out AI targets before there were tank battles. Okay, fair enough. Except apparently they decided to neglect the MiG rockets, which I call Tiny Ivans, like Tiny Tims, from the CAS nerf, or they just brought them in afterwards and thought, you know what, we don't need to treat these the same as all the rest of the rockets, the HVARs or the... Now, Tiny Tims actually do a lot of damage. The problem with Tiny Tims is they have a ridiculous launch angle, and it's very difficult to predict where they're going to go. They do not fly straight off the rails. Now, they were designed to drop and then fire. I get that. I understand that. I acknowledge that. That's fine. They don't launch directly off the rails, but the Soviet-style rockets do, and they fly absolutely straight. Now, speaking of missiles flying absolutely straight, now that was a guided missile, of course, but you don't see shillelaghs killing T-64s too often. Now, I'm not sure if the T-64 next to me was already damaged, or maybe he gave up his side or his back somehow and got hit by that shillelagh, but that was disconcerting. So I actually did take the time to reload all of my smoke dischargers, rather. And I'm moving up to where this KPZ-70 is, and then I'm going to go around and move back towards the B point. And then try to continue on towards the A point, or probably more likely just defend B and C here. Because you only really need 2 points to win, and this map is one of those where it's better to just try and hold 2. I spot the culprit, I get a bounce shot off him naturally, dump off my smoke dischargers to hide, and then instead of hiding, sitting back behind the smoke, I push forward through it, hoping that the KPZ-70 also backed off, which it looks like he did. But then he drives forward again. I get a real good hit into him, or at least what should have been a real good hit into him with APF-SDS to kill his gunner, and take a crippling hit back from him, and then that leaves me sitting still for yet another rocket kill. And I'm here to tell you, those rockets do not fly off axis at all. You point and you click with those, and they go right where you aim them. And it's pretty ridiculous, and we are just getting started in this battle. So the enemy's starting to take the B point. I came back in my Canberra to bomb them out, hopefully, and stop them, so my team had time to get back there and take them out. And the team tells me that there's a spawn camper behind our spawn. Because what else is new? So I asked if he could mark him, but he was already killed out, so he wasn't able to come in and mark. So I line back up on the B point. I can see a target just behind the rocks. I'm moving a little hot here, dropped all 5 of my bombs. And thankfully got him. Dropped the air brake to slow my speed down, because you can break your wings in level flight with the Canberra Mark 6. If you're not careful. So back behind me, I can hear a MiG coming. Sure enough, by the time I can turn back towards my base and level off again, look back, there he is. He's coming, he's catching up. I had to slow down a bit so I didn't utterly rip the wings off. And I'm trying to line myself back up more towards our airfield and then just get into level flight, get going as fast as I can, and try to outrun him. And, of course, I dropped all my bombs, so I can't do much about the guy in our spawn, and I'm hoping to just outrun this MiG, who is able, because I'm just in level flight, don't want to make too many tight maneuvers because I'm going to break my wings off, is able to just dial me in with the distance, and then as I start getting a little too fast, I just break the wings from flying too fast at speed. And of course he gets kill credit for the little plinky hit he put on me that didn't really damage anything, so I was at least able to climb up to safe bailout altitude and save myself a tiny little bit of repair cost here by safely ejecting my crew. I did at least take the guy out at B and stop them from capturing it. So now I'm going to come back in my Conqueror and try to get down and capture the B point. But of course, we're holding 1 point, the enemy's holding 1 point, the 3rd point is neutral, so where is the enemy team? Trying to capture a point? Oh, don't be silly, Orange! Of course they're in our spawn. Well, they were in our spawn. I'm never going to apologize for killing a guy in our spawn, or being happy about it. Unfortunately, the sound mod kind of failed out on me a little bit here, but as you can see now, I'm moving out in my Conqueror, which is not also the most mobile, fast, accelerating tank in the world either. And you'll also notice we've got 3 SPAA back in our spawn here that are all focused on the Type 74 that was just in our spawn. As I'm trying to move over the top of this hill here and get out and go capture the B point, naturally, I take another hit from a MiG rocket. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, my chat gets pretty dang salty coming up, and I'm not going to apologize for it by any means. That's the way I felt during the battle. It's the way I feel watching this battle again in replay, and I'm not going to apologize. It gets pretty angry. An R2-Y2 comes in now to join in the fray, but thankfully it looks like he already had dropped his bomb off. So unfortunately here, our guys get focused on him, our SPAA. So I pop off all my smoke off towards the right here to block the R2-Y2 from bombing me if he still has his bomb, because I couldn't tell as he went by. He continues by over the top, and I could just hear multiple aircraft flying around, and the sunlight in this battle was in such a way that it was really difficult to see silver-colored airplanes up in the sky. And as I'm trying to make it down to the B point, naturally I noticed that one of our SPAA has been taken out by yet another spawn raper moving into our spawn. Because again, why would you go play the objectives when there's the enemy spawn you can drive into and just get cheap kills? So as I'm the only tank and I really need my SPAA alive now to fight back against the MiGs, I'm going back up after the KPZ-70 that's in our spawn. As the M163, who had been taken out, had at least done enough damage to the R2-Y2 so that the R2-Y2 is now out of the battle. So at least we don't have to deal with an 800 kilogram bomb being dropped on us, along with all the laser-guided rockets. And you can see our team is in rough shape right now. We do, however, have an F-86 F2 in the battle now, which I'm really hoping is going to get into the fight and occupy these MiGs somewhat. Now, I don't know where the KPZ-70 was that had killed our M163, so I'm trying to find him. I figured he was out in the battle somewhere. And then the guy who, in the Lolly Commander, the guy in the M163 who had been killed out, marks him for me on the map, so appreciate it. He's also the one in the Saber, so appreciate it even more because he was flying and marking at the same time. So I'm searching out for this KPZ-70 now in my Conqueror and hoping I run into him. I was really wanting to go for the 8-point, but I just can't leave a KPZ-70 somewhere back near our spawn. So of course the T-64 that's left on our team all the way down south is trying to go into their spawn. Because, again, why would you go after the capture points if you can just go into the enemy spawn? And again, like I've said before, I will criticize anybody going for the spawn from either team, mine or my team or the enemy team, if they're not going for the objectives when the objectives need to be got. So it applies to my team as well, as you can see here. I take a bounce shot, thankfully, off the front armor, and the KPZ-70 reveals himself to be up in the normal camping spot, of course. So now, instead of going out and capturing the point, I have to come in and take out this guy who's camped up inside our spawn, while there are enemy MiGs flying over with laser-guided rockets. I'm not in a terribly great mood while I'm playing this battle right now, which was being compounded from previous battles, for sure, but there goes our Saber. I've got a Saber and I've got an SPA, although our SPA is parked in a ravine where he doesn't have very good sight lines. He is at least doing his best to engage the MiGs. Now, of course, I've got to climb up a hill. I get a real good shot into this KPZ-70's barrel. And now it's just really a matter of, can I climb up the hill and put a follow-up shot into him before he can repair his barrel and come back over the top and hit me. Here comes the Saber again. And unfortunately, he's now being chased by a MiG. So I don't blame the Saber. It's 50-50 whether he's going to get on the tail of a MiG. He's also fighting multiple MiGs. He's doing everything he can. I'm not terribly happy with our ZSU-23 down in the ravine where he is. I know he's trying to hide himself as much as possible as well. And of course, that happens again. And like I said before, I'm not going to apologize for the chat. You'll see why I am not going to apologize for the chat by the end of the battle. So all I have left to come back for come back with is my Falcon now, which, okay, Falcon is a relatively capable vehicle, but of course I can't focus on the MiGs when I've got to worry about the KPZ-70 that's up top in our spawn camping area. So I didn't want to move, hoping that he would drive out and try to shoot me while I still had spawn protection on. And he does actually make a big mistake here. He drives out of the spawn camping spot and down the hill, which gives me a great opportunity to light him up with my API rounds, which I did. So I'm really racing against time here because I'm expecting to get rocketed by a MiG any second now. But I really want to deal with this KPZ-70, so at least if anyone else is able to respawn, they can maybe have a clean area to spawn into. And was able to take out the spawn raper in his KPZ-70, and no apologies, no regrets. Sorry, not sorry. And continue moving on to get back down towards the C point to defend it and or the B point and just get away from the ZSU-23 so we don't have two SPA in the same spot. So I can hear an airplane coming. I can't see him. The sky is ridiculous right now. It's super bright. I see the MiG getting chased by something. It's an Me-163. Not entirely sure why I got 0 hits on him there. Again, the Me-163 is not the biggest threat to worry about, though he is threatening our Saber, and you can see 2 MiGs now going by, crossing above. And I'm hoping that somebody's going to chase the MiG over us, which I believe is what our Saber, or chase our Saber over us, rather. Which I'm sure is what our Saber was counting on. And before I can get the guns tracked around on this MiG, he takes out our Saber. Now watch coming up here. Bing! Got a hit with API rounds on the MiG. Does it do anything to the MiG? No, heavens no, of course not. The Me-163 thankfully crashes into the ground, which, while he wasn't exactly a threat to us, he was at least a distraction from the MiGs that we need to worry about, so one less thing flying around in the air is actually a good thing when it comes to myself and the ZSU-23 being left on our team. So we saw one MiG go running away down low here, who of course is looping back up high in the air. I can hear him. I can't see him because the sky is just simply ridiculously difficult to spot airplanes in right now. And as I'm trying to get to any sort of cover whatsoever... Gee, there's a big surprise. I did thankfully have enough points to come back in basically anything, but I don't know what I'm going to do here. We are actually holding 2 of the points, and you can see we've got 2 tanks left again. The T-64 did go capture the A point, so good credit to him there. And I decided I'll come back in my Sea Fury because the enemy is now capturing the C point. Now, I can't count on my RP-3 rockets to get a kill against anything because they just fly all over the place. There's no relying on them whatsoever. I can at least count on the bomb trajectory for a drop. So I'm diving in to drop my bombs against whatever's capturing the C point. Unfortunately, I only have the 500s, but they're pretty reliable. Right there is where I decided I probably better hit my DVR to record this battle, and it's actually been 18 minutes into the battle now, so there wasn't much longer before I would have lost the beginning, because my DVR only goes back 20 minutes for shadow play. So coming in, I can see the enemy down here. I see him fire. I get a couple hits on him, drop the bombs, and of course, the way this battle is going, why would 500-pound bombs do anything to a Type 60 self-propelled recoilless rifle? You know, I mean, why did I expect anything different? I see him moving out over here. I'm firing my Hispano high-explosive anti-air rounds. I get 1 hit and a whole bunch of sparks. Because again, at this point, why should I expect anything different? I'm trying to haul back around as hard as possible onto this MiG. I get a little too slow in the turn, and the MiG goes for the sky, so I line up to strafe the Type 60 again. My shots are doing nothing but sparking, and I just gave up on the battle and didn't even bother pulling up. I was fed up right there, and just let the plane fly into the ground. I was so angry and getting so mad that I just decided that's it. I'm done with War Thunder tonight after this battle. No more. No more. Way too angry at the way this battle and the night was going to continue playing. Just far better things I could be doing with my time. I did stick around to tell the team that there was, you know, a Type 60 heading through the tunnel to get to the B point, and hope that the T-64 would be able to get there and catch him. And we'll keep watching the battle because naturally it's not over yet. So here's our T-64 coming through to decap the C point. He did actually do, besides going for the enemy spawn a little bit at the beginning, he did come back and actually fight it out at the capture points afterwards. So good on him. He was pretty bravely all out in the open, I will definitely say that, knowing that there's MiGs flying overhead with nuclear-armed rockets. Like I said there, boy, I hope you've got engine smoke or smoke canisters or something, because, brother, you are gonna need it. Now you can see someone is capping the B point away from us, and someone is decapping the C point. Now, Mod smartly just decaps the C point, and then continues back to the B point. And Lolly Commander gets taken out by a rocket again. So Mod has decapped C and is heading his way back up to the B point here. Now we know there's a Type 60 somewhere. Somewhere near the B point. I like the counterpoint to this is the Allies used to spam HVAR that killed tanks 5 meters away from impact. Right, they used to. And they got nerfed. And they do not do that anymore. But the Soviet rockets absolutely do it now. Plus, they fly absolutely rail straight. Ramrod straight. So, just super frustrating. I did stick around to finish watching the battle, mostly to get the end of it for a recording. So we know there's a Type 60 somewhere around B. We don't know exactly where it is. As the T-64 comes around the corner, looking in the likely spots. However, he drove right past it. Apparently didn't see it. Takes a pretty big hit and gets set on fire. And as the perfect finishing act to the battle, a MiG comes in and rockets the T-64 and even gets a team kill on his own Type 60. Because what more appropriate way to end this video? There's just nothing else left to even say. So, otherwise, all complaining aside, the research wasn't really terrible. However, I had already finished research on the Striker, so I had no ground units left to get. This was just a keep grinding and get modifications with my Chieftain Mark 10. There's the awards and the team scores. And now we'll get into the complete and utter disgustingness of the battle log. Just pause it if you want and look how many times there are MiG rocket kills. It's just sickening. But sorry for the downer video today. If you want to go watch a happy one, go back to last week and watch the other last Wednesday's video. But other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for stopping by and checking this one out. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.